At this point, we have to go through one of the all-time confusing things in genetics out there, which is something, two factoids and two sound bites that seemingly totally contradict with each other. You share, on the average, 50% of your DNA with a full sibling. You share 98% of your DNA with chimpanzees. What's up with that? That seems a little bit unexpected, and those are two sound bites that everybody knows. Everybody knows it goes through, like basic Mendel, 50%, 100% with an identical gene, with identical twin, 50% with a full sibling. You know that song and dance by now. And meanwhile, one of the great sound bites of our evolutionary history and the mark of evolution and what in hell are you creationists thinking is the fact that, oh, humans share 98% of their DNA with chimps. This doesn't make any sense. 1 minute here to be spent on just clarifying that one that is not contradictory at all. Genes specify, by way of proteins, and now this is taking a bunch of leaps down there, traits, aspects. Genes specify, to be totally simplifying here, genes specify for antlers, for dorsal fins, for petals and pistils and stamen, for kidneys, for just totally simplifying. So right off the bat, you will have some genetic similarities between two different species in that both of them will have genes that code for dorsal fins. You're thinking about two different species of whales. So they share genes coding for dorsal fins. Whales have dorsal fins. Neither we nor chimpanzees have genes for dorsal fins. Meanwhile, we have genes coding for a pelvis that is a certain shape, which either in chimps predisposes towards being able to walk bipedal for certain lengths of time. Us as well, you don't find these genes in apple trees. They don't have pelvises that are shaped like those, so they don't have, so when you look at the human and the chimp genome, 98% of the genes code for similar kind of things. We share with chimps an absence of genes for antlers and trunks and tusks and wings or who knows what. And we share all sorts of other genes in common having to do with our shared immune systems, et cetera, et cetera. So 98% of the genes code for similar types of things. So that's where we get the 98% similarity with the chimps from. For each one of those genes, it could come in a couple of different flavors, a bunch of different flavors, and thus asking, not do both you and your full sibling have a gene for opposable thumbs, do you and your sibling have the same type of gene for opposable thumbs? So suddenly that's a different world of variance on each type of gene. So when talking about the amount of DNA shared in common, the genes shared in common with another species, what you're talking about are the types of genes coding for the types of traits. When we're talking about, from last week's notion, 50%, 25%, 12.5%, one brother or 8 cousins, what you're talking about are different versions of particular genes. Important clarification.